utilizing ASL interpretation services. Our two interpreters are Andrea Lamberton and Johnny Colon. Instructions on how to pin their video will be in the chat. For those utilizing closed captioning card services, a link will also be available in the chat. Thank you.
Then I'm the interim chair of the Civilian Complaint Review Board. I would like to call on the CCRB July public board meeting to an order. Thank you for joining us. Before we begin, we must acknowledge the tragedy that our city suffered this week, the horrific shooting of the 345 Park Avenue. My thoughts and prayers today are with the victim families. Let's please have a moment of silence for all those who lost their lives, including an NYPD officer. Thank you all. Now I wish to introduce our newest mayoral appointee on this board. Rahul Agrawal is right here. Before joining us, he was a federal prosecutor with the U.S. Attorney Office of the District of New Jersey and Deputy Chief Counsel to the Office of the Mayor of the City of New York. We are very pleased to have him here. Please join me in welcoming to the CCRB.
Thanks.
Would the board please introduce themselves, starting with Rahul?
Good evening, everyone. Rahul Agrawal, recently appointed by Mayor Adams. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you Hogan, City Council designee from 28th District, Queens. John Siegel, I'm a mayoral appointee.
Harmon Merritt, City Council designee from Brooklyn.
John Darsh, I use he, him pronouns. I'm the executive director of the agency.
Good evening, everyone. Shireen Crawford, I'm a mayoral appointee.
Hi, Joe Fox. I'm a police rep appointee.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Puma. I'm the city council designee on the board of Manhattan. I hail from the Lower East Side and I go by he, him pronouns.
Good afternoon, Pat Smith. I'm a mayoral appointee from Manhattan.
We like to, is anybody, my board member is on the Zoom?
No.
Okay. The first thing is the adoption of the minutes. Are there any changes or correction to the minutes? Please, if yes, then we will make the appropriate changes and review the corrected minutes next month. If none, is there a motion to approve the board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Any abstention?
I'll abstain.
The minutes are approved. Are there any changes or a correction to the June meeting? If yes, say we will make the appropriate changes and review the corrected minutes next month. If none, say, is there a motion to approve the June board meeting minutes?
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention?
I'll abstain.
The minutes are approved. To begin, on a personal note, I want to honor the passing of former CCRB board member and NYPD Deputy Commissioner Tony Simonetti, who died last week at age of 91. Like me, he was a proud Staten Islander and he served this board for over a decade. It was a privilege to have the opportunity to serve alongside with him, and even more of a privilege to call him a friend. His loved ones are in our prayers and thoughts. Turning to our work this month, July has been very busy, but I would like to start our meeting today by addressing the preliminary decision made by the Police Commissioner Tisch in the case against Lieutenant Jonathan Rivera for the killing of Alan Felix. First and most importantly, I wish to acknowledge the pain of the Felix family. I am certain that this process has not been easy. The CCRB received the commissioner's notification on July 3rd, and we provided our formal response on July 11th. We stand by our investigation and the conclusion of the administrative trial. We believe that the deputy commissioner recommendation was correct, and Lieutenant Rivera actions should result in his termination. We hope that the commissioner accepts this recommendation. In July, we learned that the city passed a new budget, and I wish to thank Mayor Adams, the speaker, and the entire city council for their work in negotiating it. This new funding will greatly support our agency efforts over the next years in ways you will hear about it shortly. Finally, our semi-annual report was released on Monday, and I encourage you all to read it. In short, 2025 has been a strong but measured period of the CCRB. As detailed in our report, the NYPD decision to end its short statute of NYPD's statute of limitation policy has been resulted in an increase in the rate at which the department agrees with the board disciplinary recommendation. Going from 26 in 2024 to 77 in the first half of 2025. This is a very positive trend. With that, I will turn over to our Executive Director, Jonathan Dosh, for his own update. I will now ask Executive Director Jonathan to please give agency an update, John.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. I want to start by echoing Dr. Khalid's words regarding the preliminary decision in the case against Lieutenant Rivera. This agency stands by the investigation. It is our hope that the commissioner accepts Deputy Commissioner Maldonado's recommendation. Dr. Khalid thanked the mayor, the speaker, and the city council for the support this agency received in the new budget agreement. The new budget brings with it additional funds and increased headcount for the agency, 20 new positions. This new funding and additional headcount will help the CCRB better investigate complaints in a few key ways. First, by the end of 2025, the agency will no longer administratively close certain cases without investigation, a process known as Strategic Resource Allegation Determination, or SRAD. Due to resource constraints, the agency prioritized investigating certain allegations of misconduct, forcing other allegations to go uninvestigated. In 2024, we closed 1,440 complaints under SRAD. The new budget will allow us to end this practice and fully investigate every complaint we receive. Lastly, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the CCRB suspended holding monthly meetings in communities throughout the 5 boroughs. In part due to our limited resources, this practice has continued through this year. It is our hope that the new budget will allow us to once again hold these meetings outside of this office, giving New Yorkers a direct view into our work from their own neighborhoods. Even with these limitations, we've still done great work this year. The semi-annual report explains that the agency received 2,778 complaints during the first half of 2025. This is down slightly from that same period last year, but it is still more than any other first half of a year since 2012. You can find the semi-annual report on our website. On a final note, this legislative session saw some important progress made on the issue of sealed records. The CCRB receives numerous complaints that we cannot fully investigate because the associated police records and other documents are sealed. Recently, the bill numbered S4966 passed the New York State Senate. This bill would have allowed the CCRB to access sealed and other confidential records. While the bill ultimately remained in committee at the state assembly level, this was an important step toward increasing our access to vital records that the CCRB needs to do our job. As a reminder, our office is open for walk-in complaints, but it is also possible to file complaints online at nyc.gov/CCRB complaint, by telephone at 1-800-341-2272 or by calling 311, or by tagging the agency on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For those wishing to speak during the public comment section of today's meeting, we ask you keep your questions and comments to 4 minutes. If anyone wishes to file a complaint right now, we have 2 investigators on hand ready to take any new complaints. It's Emma and Rob. Thank you all for your presence here today, and we'll now move on to our board's formal business.
Thank you, John. Is any board member has any questions?
Mr. Chair, I move that we commend our interim chair and our executive director for the outstanding work they did in achieving this budget success. Speaking to that motion, it doesn't happen easily. An enormous competition from city agencies trying to get the funding from the council and the mayor. It takes hard work. It takes passion. It takes diligence. That's my motion.
Thank you, Pat.
Is there a second?
There is a second. Is any second here?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Is everybody in favor of this motion?
Yes.
Yes.
So motion is accepted, and thank you very much, Pat, for your kindness and
Thank you for
your trust and confidence in me and John and the board. Thank you. Mr. Meyer, is that something good, right?
For a second, I got to put it.
Anybody has any question, the board member, on John's presentation? If none, then we're going to go to a presentation by the Deputy Assistant Director of Training, Matt Chavez. Mr. Chavez?
Good afternoon, everyone. Please let me know if anybody can't hear me online or anything. I'll lean into the mic. My name is Matt Chaves, and I'm a member of the training team here at the CCRB. I've been asked by agency leadership to give a brief presentation on how we obtain and use body-worn camera video in our investigations day-to-day here at the agency. Next slide, please.
Matt, you should lean into the mic.
Lean in. There's a label here telling me not to.
And don't listen to the label. Listen to the label and talk louder.
Understood. Okay. Here's our agenda in brief. We'll just give a little background on how we came to this moment in time, get into the process of how we actually get the video, talk about what we do to ensure thoroughness in our video review and investigations, and then talk a little bit about, frankly, the good news of what body-worn video does for the agency and the public we serve. Next slide, please. Some of you may recognize some of these dates. The main thing I want to convey here is that this goes all the way back to 2013. That was the first time that body-worns really became an issue on the public agenda here in New York, and it took a while. It took the better part of almost 6 years to get the rollout all the way to the point where video was coming routinely to the agency for our review. And, you know, by the end of 2018, we had almost 16,000 officers in the city wearing the cameras spread out over most of the local commands. And nowadays, we're up over 24K. It's the biggest body-worn program, as I understand it, for police in the country. And what that translates to for us here at the CCRB is that in over 80% of our fully investigated cases now, we are looking at least one body worn camera file, usually more, but at least one piece of body worn evidence in the significant majority of our full cases. Next slide, please. And this will go point by point. This is how we actually go about getting the video. It starts off, investigator gets assigned a case, and they use our complaint tracking system to draft a request based on the basic data they have, names of people involved, time, date, location, commands that they expect to be involved, things like that. Next point. That goes to one of our CCRB document specialists who review the request, check it over for, all the bureaucratic I's and T's that we need. And then it goes to NYPD Legal, who in turn have their staff search the actual video database. They're the ones hands-on with the video to start. They identify what appears to be the relevant video work or, the actual footage, and they transfer it back to us digitally. The document specialist gets it. Next point, please. And they link the video in our system to the investigating person's actual access and case, which lets them then do their job, review it, summarize it, analyze it in the case as a piece of evidence. Final point, this is the process. This is how it's supposed to go and mostly how it goes now. Things are running smoothly, but this can require multiple iterations of this cycle for more complex cases, cases where the intro info we got wasn't complete or accurate, things of that nature. So sometimes we run this 2 or 3 times even. Next slide, please. So once we actually get our hands on the stuff, what do we do to make sure we're using it effectively and accurately? Every new investigator here goes through an 8-week training course, and that's everything. That's not just body-worn video or video in general. That's the whole investigative process. But within that 8 weeks, we have 6 distinct sessions, on locating, reviewing, analyzing, and presenting video within the context that we need it. Next slide. And so again, we'll go point for point here. The first one is an intro to video. Sounds obvious, but we want our staff to really understand what are called the forensic limits of digital video. It's a piece of evidence like anything else. It has strengths, weaknesses, and it fits into the case holistically. It's not the end all be all. And then we got to talk about how to get our hands on this stuff. Obviously, we go through the procedures for the body worn that I just went through, but that also covers various forms of municipal or public-private surveillance and fully private files. Go ahead. We have a session dedicated to handling those cases that we get now and then where there's a huge mass of body worn. Your 10 different officers show up, your 20 or 30 are on scene, your large events. Those require a bit of a specific process to make sure that you're being thorough and efficient, you're watching everything, but you're also maximizing the benefit of the huge amount of coverage that you get. So it's its own class. We do have a class on Axon Investigate, which is a program I'll talk a little bit more about in just a moment. The short version for now is that it's a forensic analysis program, sort of a standard nationwide among law enforcement and oversight agencies. We want our staff to be able to use that. We have a special section on reviewing force in video. As I'm sure the board is aware and members of the public can imagine, reviewing force, fast moving, often chaotic. The cameras get blurry. It can be kind of its own unique challenge or challenges. So we focus on that. And last but not least, we have a section on presenting video within the interview context of the CCRB investigator, both to civilians and to members of service. We have specific procedures, evidentiary standards, and just best sort of human practices in making sure that our questioning and evidence collection makes sense and fits into the broader project. So I've taken the liberty here of just screen capping a few of our training slides. There will not be a test or quiz, I promise, but we get into the nitty gritty of MPEG compression, file organization, how surveillance systems are set up, and different programs that we use to review all the video we're looking at. Next slide. And I promised before I'd talk about Axon Investigate. Here we are at that moment. Folks may be aware, hopefully, of the Axon sort of brand name within the context of policing. They make a lot of gear and equipment for a lot of different departments. And here in New York, the NYPD sources their body cams and the software that on the back end organizes all the video from Axon. So we make sure to use similarly branded and equipped software from the same, first party provider. We take an Axon generated and stored file, we analyze it using Axon brand software. Same manufacturer, fewer problems that way. And it's frankly the industry standard across police departments and even a lot of big federal agencies at this point in terms of ensuring that evidence that you collect is stored and analyzed and viewed properly. Nothing's getting overwritten. You're not losing originals, that kind of thing. And we received, oh, sorry, just one final point on that previous slide. We received on-site training during our rollout of this few years back. And we are now actually, as we speak, doing a update and refresher training for all our investigators direct from Axon. Had our first session last week, and we'll be going on a month-by-month basis in small class settings until everyone's got it. And then next slide is just a screen cap of the interface for those of you who are curious. That's what it looks like behind the curtain. It's not too complicated, blessedly, but it gets a lot done for us. Next slide. And then the final piece of ensuring the quality of the work here is procedures. You know, we are a bureaucratic entity, and we make sure to follow certain lockdown processes to make sure that nothing gets dropped. You have to watch and summarize all your video. It may sound obvious, but when there's 100 files that come through in a big case, it remains the rule, same as if there was one. You have to flag as an investigator the really key body worn for your manager, so they can review it as you go to case closing and earlier in the case process. There's not just one person watching this stuff. There's always at least two, and usually it's sometimes a team effort among the folks you're interviewing with as well. And then within our closing reports, as I'm sure the board is very familiar, we have to, among other things, note the presence or absence of body worn. For any case, if there's no body worn at this point, we assume it's the default. Why wasn't there? We make sure to nail that down. If there are for some and not other officers, that's spelled out. We flag all available body worn for easy board review. So if there's 20 videos and the report relies on 5 mostly, those other 15 are still noted and tagged in the system, so the board at their leisure can watch some or all of them, single click. And last but not least, in the written report, we specifically cite the timestamps that we're using from each body-worn video that relate to a given disposition. So if we say that X and Y happened in a video, that's from timestamp 147 to 205, something like that. Directs everyone's attention, makes sure that we're clear on what we're arguing for. Next slide. How much video is there? A lot. There's a lot of video. As of last year's, last full year we have data for, we almost hit 7,000 hours just of NYPD body-worn video. That's over 2,000 cases and counting. You do the math, it's over 3 hours of video per case. So every case on an investigator's docket that goes to full, on average, it's a Marvel movie plus. And that does not include any surveillance video from any source, social media sourced video, or civilian cell phone personal device. So there's more video than that. There's a whole other universe. We're just talking body worn. And we don't watch the video once. We watch it multiple times, timestamp notes, written summaries, report review. Sometimes we're going not just in slow motion, but literally frame by frame through key moments. Where's a person's hand? What's the license plate number on the vehicle? Which officer name is that? Literally getting down to 30 frames a second, one arrow at a time. So it's a big task. We'll have a quick graph just to really emphasize it. Hard to see the caption at the bottom, but that's year by year going back to 2018. Like I said, we almost hit 7,000 hours last year. We're on track to break that this year. As of a couple weeks ago, it'll probably be around, if the trend holds, a similar number, but slightly higher. So it is a huge new source of labor relatively within the lifetime of the agency that we have taken on and need to handle here. And then the last thing I want to point out, that was sort of, you could argue, the bad news. This is the good news. Consistent access to this video significantly, and I'll show you the graph in a moment, significantly improves CCRB investigations outcomes. That left-hand side, before you get to the new percent signs, that's when we don't have body worn. So if there's no body worn in a case in a full investigation, those big orange bars are the quote unquote we don't knows. Those are the ones we can't find on the merits, what happened one way or the other. And we have to tell, the civilians, the public, the NYPD officers, everybody, hey, we don't know. Shrug of the shoulders. The green bars are what we're looking for. Those are on the merits. We found out that the allegations didn't happen, the allegations occurred but were proper police work, or the allegations happened and they were misconduct. And you can see those bars essentially double from the left-hand side of the screen, moving over to the right when we have the body worn. You go from low 30s up almost to 70, 75% we're closing in on being able to, with our standard of evidence, say, this is what happened. And that's fundamentally why we do it here. So that is the end of the presentation. I want to thank everybody for their time and attention. And if there's any questions at all, happy to do my best to answer them.
Matt, how long it takes to get the video, the BWC? time period was?
I may have to punt on that because the numbers have fluctuated. I believe routine now, the average or median, we're down under 2 weeks and maybe even under 1 week. I don't want to overemphasize the success, but it's that number has come. If you looked at the graph, how much are we getting? It's a mirror graph of how long it takes to get. We are now down closer, I want to say, and Edie Darsh, if you have better numbers off the top of your head.
I thought it was closer to 4 days.
You think we're under a week now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we're under a week, and that is further good news. As this process has come on board, the number has come down a long way.
So that has substantially improved the time wise.
Yes, I don't want to invoke the bad old days too dramatically, but there were periods where it was taking on average months.
Yeah. Any board member has questions, please?
Yeah, I have a question, and thanks for a really good presentation. So the BWC video process slide, item 1, where the investigator drafts a request, is the request at this point just identifying the case, or is it any more specific than that?
No, it can vary significantly in its specificity based on what we have as our initial input. If somebody has called up, left a voicemail, and they have left 5 minutes of detailed information, or if we got a referral from another agency, like through IAB, we may have a great deal of info ranging from the basic narrative, folks who were injured, officer names and shield numbers, and we're going to put all that into the request. It may be polar opposite. We haven't spoken to anyone yet. We have 2 sentences of a written narrative someone put online, and we're kind of going time, date, location, very little else. Usually at the squad level, we want to hold off on that request until we have something solid to go on. And so usually it's somewhere in the middle. Usually we have a civilian name, time, date, location, basic narrative, maybe physical descriptions of some of the involved people, and that's what goes out.
But it's not a more specific request than that. In other words, give us the video of these officers or these angles or these incidents. It's just give us the video for the incident, and you identify the incident with as much as you have.
Yes, I would say that's the typical process.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So it's not that burdensome to do the request. That's what I'm driving at.
I don't want to speculate unduly. I would say it varies significantly. It's one of these things where the less info you have, the easier the individual request would be, because not too much to type, but you're more likely to have to run more than one of those. Whereas if you have a lot of detailed info and you have reason to believe, oh, it was officers X, Y, and Z in a car that looked like this, you have to copy and organize all that information over, and you can end up with essentially a, 14-inch legal piece of paper that's just a wall of text. Hopefully you're only doing that once, but it takes time on that end. So kind of balances out.
Thanks. Anybody else? Yes. Go ahead.
I have a question along these lines as well. What would the impact be if the CCRB had direct access to the video database? You mentioned that there are some cases where you kind of run through this iterative process a few times. Would it shorten that, or what in this hypothetical, how could the investigations benefit from any sort of direct access?
Sure. If we could go back, if it's possible, I don't know, on the tech side to that process slide, it'll probably help answer the question a little bit. It's going to be, I think, slide 4 or so. Yes, there it is. So, and I'm, to be clear, imagining a hypothetical here without any specific, underlying MOU or whatever, but were it to move to some sort of on-site, direct access by the investigators, essentially this slide would disappear, and you would have, after reviewing a case, an investigator signs into the body-worn camera system trademark and, performs searches, identifies their video and links it to their case, or uploads a note that says negative results, no body worn for this one. And in situations where everything kind of runs smoothly, I think that would shave, some number of days as per Edie Darsh's, off the timeline. In cases where we're doing this more than once, not only are you multiplying that sort of runtime of the request, but in many cases, you have procedural hangups where you're waiting on video. So if I, let's say, think I'm ready to interview officers, I call an officer in, I interview them, and they say, well, it's all on the body worn. And I'm looking at my sheet going, Officer Jones, we didn't get any body worn for you, which happens now and then. We basically have to wrap that interview, send that member of service back to their command. I'll go submit that request, wait on it. And now this whole process is not just the amount of runtime for the request. It's also, I have to do a new part of the investigation, maybe bring that officer back on a 2-week lead time. It can build up, if that makes sense, in ways that aren't necessarily linear just from this sheet. So, this process would go away. That's the easy part to say. And then on top of that, you have the additional complications that it would kind of cut out.
Any other question?
Yeah, the outstanding work, the body worn camera is, the future of police work. We need that. We have that. Commend you, your staff, what you've done, the presentation. I have one issue here. When a police officer doesn't have the body worn camera on, we as members end up looking at an allegation that says improper use of body worn camera. And I've been arguing for more than a year. Improper use of body worn camera makes a layman think, oh, this person was doing some kind of surveillance, or this person was being a bit of a peeping Tom. We're talking improper use. Instead of a simple finding that failure to activate. And I've been told for about a year that we were making that change. Has that change been made? That when an officer doesn't have the camera on, when we have to review a case, and this is probably the single biggest allegation where we substantiate against police officers, is this improper use of body worn cameras. And it should be failure to activate, because improper use, like I said, implies some really nefarious stuff. And why is, where are we with that? Or is that above your pay grade? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You took the words out of my mouth there. That is quite literally above my pay grade. I train folks on what we have as the investigations manual as written in the pleading language therein and in CTS. Whatever comes down from leadership, the board, and any sort of, other entities, the department, city council,
Matt,
rep council.
Can I answer?
Yeah, please. That's outside of me.
So the change was made. There was an issue that I am not sure was resolved where what you were seeing, Pat, did not reflect what was in the closing report or on the cover sheet when you were in CTS Plus in the voting app.
Yeah.
And so it should have been changed, but I need to go back and double check with Lincoln to make sure that that is showing up properly.
Yeah, because I'm still saying improper use instead of failure to activate.
I'll double check on that.
I think.
No other question?
Can I ask one question?
Yes, go ahead.
How long does NYPD have to retain BWC?
Off the top of my head, I believe it is well past our statute of limitations. I don't want to misquote you the numbers. Edie Darsh, if you know what their legal requirement is, the numbers in my head are something like 5 years on arrest.
So that is correct on arrest. If there is a CCRB complaint about it, they have to retain it forever. There is theoretically a possibility that we could get a complaint so late that the body worn camera and no one had noted it for another reason, that the body worn camera footage was not retained, but that it is highly unlikely that we would be commencing an investigation. I think it's 2 years, but again, I'm just like Matt, I'm not 100% certain.
Well, that was my follow-up. I mean, I'm just wondering if you ever run into the issue where they haven't retained, but it sounds like that's not really happening.
My understanding is that it's at least a year or two, like default retention at this point. Like if nobody asks for anything and there was no criminal matter involved in the body worn recording, the department's holding it for, please don't quote me, about a year or two. And then our non-criminal statute of limitations is 18 months is what I'm trying to say. So it would be mathematically hard, if not impossible. I'm not aware of a situation where we could not move on a case due to expired on the NYPD side body worn.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No, oh my. Thank you, Matt, for your nice presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I had a few questions, actually.
go ahead, go ahead.
My name's Jen Wong.
So Jenvin, you're gonna wait for public comment.
Oh,
I think.
okay,
Yeah, that's what.
that's fine.
You're good.
Okay.
All good?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Now we will enter into the public comment portion of the meeting. We'll begin with the. Wait.
I understand.
First, virtually. Who would like to make a comment, followed by those who are joining in person? So let's start with the virtual. Please use your raise your hand feature. Please keep your comment to 4 minutes.
The first person joining us virtually who would like to speak is Idan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Sorry, I'm having issues with my computer. But if you can still hear me, I'm just going to keep going. My name is Idan. I'm a former CCRB investigator. I worked at the CCRB for about 2.5 years or so. This question is specifically for Pat Smith, and with all due respect, I prefer not to have any answers from Dr. Khalid or Edie Darsh. So it's been publicly reported that on March 2025, board panel over which you presided, you voted to flip over 40% of the recommended allegations of police misconduct, effectively sweeping substantiated police misconduct under the rug. This includes one case in which I was the investigator, where you flipped 29 allegations, including unlawful street stops, frisks, arrests, and improper use of body-worn camera. Subsequent panels over which you presided had similar flip rates, which deviate dramatically from the board average, relatively constant around 10% for the last decade. My question is on behalf of my complainant in that March board panel, as well as all the complaints whose chances at accountability you've derailed. The entire CCRB investigation staff and your other colleagues on the board are bound and guided by the New York City and state administrative and penal law, as well as the NYPD patrol guide. What is it that you know that they don't? Why are flip rates on panels over which you preside 3 times the average of your fellow board members? Thank you.
Well, if I may say, I don't preside over any board. I am member of a 3-member panel, and none of us preside on that panel. We are presented our cases, and we vote on those cases. And we voted case by case, and we voted on the merits, and we voted on our own judgment and common sense. And I'm sorry if you and I don't agree. I don't, I'm not going to castigate you or decisions you made. You saw it one way, I saw it another way, and I stand by my decisions.
Do you have anything to comment specifically about your rate of changes in board flips rather than everybody else's in the panels that you preside on?
So Don, you had your 4 minutes and he answered your question. So we'll go on to the next speaker.
Thank you.
Next person, you are.
Next, we'll be hearing from Elijah McCormick.
Yes, 2 minutes left.
Yeah, he kind of relatively.
Can y'all hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear
Mr.
you.
McCormick, we can
All
hear
right,
you.
thank you.
Yes, we
Well,
can
my
hear
name is
you.
Elijah McCormick. I had a complaint put in February of 2023. It been sent to APU, weighing trial, and I was looking up research about SOL. Yeah, I've noticed that it's passed SOL. So I wanted to know what can I do in that situation, go about it if when statute of limitations has been reached when it comes to conducting a trial. the statute of limitations for a child to commence.
So, Mr. McCormick, the statute of limitations is 18 months from the date of incident for the member of service to be served with charges and specifications. So if your case was sent to the administrative prosecution unit, it is likely that the officer was served prior to the expiration of the statute of limitations. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the folks online to get your information, and I'll have the prosecutor assigned to your case give you a call and let you know exactly what the status is.
You know, the status is the same as, because I reached to them probably every month, once a month I reached to them. And it seems like the status is the same, it's just waiting to make a trial date. But I'm wondering if there is some type of loophole or that the NYPD is using to prolong these trials. I understand you backed up everything, but we're talking about approximately over 2 years now. And you know, I just wondering what is there anything y'all doing about that, about these statutes, about these you know, extended long period of time waiting for justice?
So, Mr. McCormick, one of the things that the agency did is advocated for more prosecutors. So we're in the process of hiring more folks that will let us try more cases in a faster way at the trial room. And part of the problem is there was a huge backlog that built up while there were issues with staffing at the prosecution unit. There has been a real effort and real progress made by the current leadership and staff in the administrative prosecution unit. And, you know, we're working very hard to get the backlog down. And I will speak to the chief prosecutor and we'll get you a real update on when your case is going to go to trial.
One last thing, if you don't mind. One of the officers that was in my complaint, they end up having disciplinary session. They were substantiated, but the commissioner at the time, which was around the time when Caban, I believe, retired. Or was let loose. I don't know exactly his status, but basically, there is no. I don't know who made that decision to give no penalty to the officer for my for that complaint, and it seems to be like no information whatsoever. I've been calling the NYPD, they'll call the records, everything, they'll call for you. And it seems like no one has the answer for me on who decided to give no penalty for someone who denied me medical service. So I was in their custody.
Mr. McCormick, I'll have someone get you an answer and reach back out to you.
All right.
Thank you. Next online.
Next, we'll be hearing from D. D, you can unmute yourself.
Can you guys hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, good afternoon. I was just wondering if CCRB works with social workers or has social workers on as staff.
So the CCRB does not have social workers per se on staff. The CCRB has a civilian assistance unit, and we connect people who are in need of other services with those services. As I said that, D, I realized that we may actually have one social worker on staff, but we have so many complaints that we really try and direct folks to appropriate services more than provide them ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hold on one second. That concludes our online public session. I'm really sorry. Radiance, Martin. Your next speaker.
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Martin.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Name is Radiance Martin, as the young lady said just a few seconds ago. I am the Assistant Director of Housing Placement and Data Quality at the Jericho Project. I work out of our 39 Broadway office. We are a supportive services for veterans and their families program. I just wanted to join the call to see if I could connect with someone that could potentially visit our office on one day and maybe have an information session for our veterans. I think it would be a great opportunity for them to just hear about what the CCRB does, as they often come to us with grievances about interactions with the police and just truly not knowing, where to go for help and for support. So just wondering if someone can, come and visit us and maybe have an info session.
100%, Ms. Martin. Our outreach team is led by Jahai Rose, and we'll get your information here, and I'll have Mr. Rose reach out to you to set something up. We'll have one of our members of our outreach team come do a presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You said Jahai Rose.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll stand by. Thank you.
Next
We'll be
person.
hearing from Charles Stravel.
You hear me?
Yes, Charles.
Yes, how you doing today? I had a couple of questions. Is there a mechanism to remove unsupported allegations regarding the repeal of the 50A? And I have a couple of things I wanted to ask you. Are there any situations where 50A cases are not posted publicly? And the reason why I'm asking is I'd like to, as a former NYPD officer, I'd like to reconstruct some investigations involving myself. And also, is there any record retention policy for the CCRB in terms of how long these cases are kept on file?
So, Mr. Stravel, you're a retired chief, right?
I'm a retired captain.
Retired captain, my apologies. So Captain Stravel, do you have any other questions before I answer those three?
Yeah, I was looking for, all the supporting records and any kind of exculpatory information. I had done a FOIL request, and I waited over a year, and I still was not able to get everything that I was looking for. And so those were the questions. I had sent you a letter asking if there was any way for the CCRB to review and to remove some of the cases that were posted publicly that were really unsupported allegations. And at this point, there's no supporting documents from the complainants that I'm able to see.
So Captain, the reason I'm familiar with your case is because the general counsel mentioned it to me is a matter of pending litigation. I know that you and so all I'll say is that I can't comment directly on your case, but with regard to the question about whether we remove allegations, there is currently no provision for that. There's, once a case is closed, we don't hold down allegations. And then there is a record retentions policy, and that might actually be a good thing for us to have a public report on at a later time. And I'll talk to the director of the case management unit about doing that. So,
I mean, is there any case where a 50A disposition would not be posted?
there shouldn't be. But just to be clear, I don't know what a 58 disposition is. It's just that all of our complaints, we put online what the disposition for each individual allegation is. So there shouldn't be anyone's left off.
Okay, so at this point, you can't comment any further than you already did.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else you have?
That concludes our online public comment portion.
Thank you, Yuara. Now we are ready. Since the virtual comments are closed, now we'd like to ask people joining us in making public comment, please go beyond the podium. You're already there. And keep your comments for 4 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Thank
State
you.
your name and everything.
Thank you. My name is Jenvin Wong. I'm a supervising attorney with the COP Accountability Project at the Legal Aid Society. We are the largest institutional organization that provides public defenders across the city, and we also have a very large civil department as well as a juvenile rights practice as well. And so this is related to the update that Executive Director Darsh had given earlier, as well as you, Dr. Khalid, about Commissioner Tish's preliminary decision to override the fact finder in the NYPD trial room with respect to the death of Alan Feliz. That member of service should be terminated. We support the CCRB's hard work in investigating fully that case, as well as prosecuting it fully and ensuring that there was some accountability for that officer's actions. It's up to the police commissioner now to ensure that there is some modicum of accountability and justice for this victim's family. And one thing I wanted to bring up is that there has been a very long history of accountability escaping individual officers in their wrongdoing. The police commissioner having the final authority here is oftentimes can be problematic and can actually undermine the very important work that this agency does as well. But setting that aside, there were a lot of updates today, and I wanted to actually ask a few questions about the body-worn camera training program. My organization, as well as myself, have viewed so many hundreds and thousands of hours of body-worn camera, and it has fundamentally changed our practice in how we review officer conduct and interactions between officers and members of the public. So I really, first of all, want to appreciate all of the work that the CCRB investigators have done to adapt to that change and the resources that have been put in to meet the challenge because of the many, many additional hours of work that it takes to review these videos. I also appreciate that the training mentioned that there was an explicit focus on the fact that body-worn camera is just one piece of evidence, that there are forensic limitations. Because one thing about body-worn camera is when body-worn camera first came out, I guess over 10 years ago now, and it was a nationwide discussion about how body-worn camera could be a tool for accountability. And there was great hope that it would change police officers' behavior and answer the call to end police brutality and police misconduct generally. Since then, many studies have come out to a lot of mixed results about how it changes or actually has failed to change officer behavior in a meaningful way. As a tool for evidence gathering, body-worn camera has really changed the game. It's changed the landscape in a huge way, and I very much appreciate how that has really aided the CCRB in completing investigations at a much higher rate. But the forensic limitations are real. There is perspective bias. There was a mention about improper usage of body-worn camera, which I agree is an incredibly broad, kind of vague statement. There are actually very specific issues with body-worn camera that I think should be addressed, including including rampant late activation of body-worn camera, early deactivation of body-worn camera, which can really skew the kind of perspective that a person has when they view the body-worn camera video. The look-back period often has like 30 seconds to 60 seconds of no audio, and so we don't have any idea of what happened in that instance. There's also just the sheer volume of body worn camera. And there's also something that's often overlooked is the metadata that is associated with body worn camera video. The metadata itself is a really important tool for evidence gathering. And so I know it wasn't mentioned, but I hope that it is being used in the training for investigators to also check the metadata associated with each video. And my understanding is with the Axon body worn camera videos is that when an officer has a body worn camera video activated, it actually pings like a location to other nearby officers who are wearing their body worn camera video. I do not know if this is actually something that is something that is used by the NYPD, but I do know that the Axon body worn camera videos do have this capability. And so if it is being used by the NYPD, I hope that the CCRB investigators also have access to that kind of data. There is a wealth of data associated with BWC, and I'm hopeful and I'm really heartened to hear how in depth the training is for investigators around these videos. Some of the issues that I wanted to bring up had already been brought up. In addition, the long call for direct access to body worn camera video, not only to make investigations more efficient and effective, but I think it would also be more cost efficient for the city to cut out all those additional steps. Investigators should have direct access. One question I had with respect to that was whether or not there was a problem with body worn camera video that was not associated with, or I'm sorry, body worn camera video that may have been associated with sealed arrests and or encounters that don't result in an arrest. If access is still if access is a problem or if access has been fine with that, whether or not there were any challenges with respect to those very specific situations. And then something that I believe Board Member Smith had brought up about the improper usage of body worn camera video is whether or not there is any thought about other violations of body worn camera video. For example, I mentioned the late activation, the early deactivation, whether or not there is actual improper use of body worn camera video, not just for surveillance purposes, but when officers are perhaps engaging in false statements as they're narrating events on body worn camera. I understand. I'm actually pretty much done. But those are my questions with respect to the BWC training. And so I hope that we can get some answers to that.
So
Thank you. Thank you very much. You have anything?
yes, so not every feature that Axon provides for their body worn cameras is utilized by NYPD in their contract. So I don't think they have the feature where if you activate your body worn camera, all the body worn cameras nearby go on. I don't think that's activated, but that is something. They also have the feature that if you draw your weapon or your taser, that would activate your body worn camera footage or nearby body worn cameras as well. I don't think NYPD has that utilized either. And as I said to Mr. Smith, I'm going to check to make sure how we are labeling those allegations in the voting app that the board members use, but we do evaluate whether a member of service has failed to activate, activated too late, deactivated too early. All of those are things that we look at. We are evaluating how a member of service uses their body worn camera. Finally, if we are not able to get sealed arrests unsealed, or in some cases even find out who is the party in the video that we would need to get to consent to us viewing the video, we cannot get access to the video. Or we have to wait until video is redacted. It is a very, very cumbersome process. It is extremely important for the ability of this agency to hold members of service accountable for misconduct for us to have access to this footage, which means it was a real loss that the Assembly did not get that bill out of committee. And it is a real harm was done to the ability of this agency to have oversight of the NYPD. And, we will keep working with our colleagues, and I know Assemblymember Cruz has really fought hard for the bill that she is sponsoring, and Senator Bailey has worked hard and actually got it through the Senate. So we are very hopeful for the next session, but it is extremely important for this agency for that legislation to become law.
I just have one follow-up question.
Time's up.
Okay.
Time's up. I'm Michael Myers. I'm the president of New York Civil Rights Coalition. First, I want to also add my condolences on the passing of Tony Simonetti. It's been years since he's been on the board. And I used to come to every board meeting, as you recall. He was an excellent board member, an excellent human being. So I want to share the condolences to his family and survivors. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, I still note that your title is still interim chair. And that disturbs me because I think I shouldn't say this because this is on the record and it might get back to the mayor. I think you're doing an excellent job, exceptionally good job.
Well, thank you, sir.
And it's time for the mayor or whoever's in charge to take away that interim and make you the chair. You don't need interim. You don't need an adjective before the title chair. So I hope somebody out there is listening. And even if you disagree with me, maybe one time you will agree with me, that the CCRB deserves and has earned a chair, not an interim chair, in your person. Third, getting it for the record. Running into this building is still a problem for me. Now, I don't know why that is. The executive director has done what he can do to expedite my getting in, but he has to send somebody from the staff down to vouch for me. Now, they know who I am downstairs. And they wait for me. I have to wait 5 and 10 minutes just to get in and to get a pass to come in, notwithstanding my identification. And I'm really pissed about it. I really am angry about it. This is a public meeting. Now, is there something in your lease that allows public to come to a public meeting of the CCRB? If it's not in your lease, maybe you should put it in your lease because the landlord is not being responsive, and I know who this landlord is or what they represent. I'm skipping that. Fourth. My congratulations to every member of this board. I understand your position. I understand what you got to go through. I understand the painstaking time that you put in to these investigations and these reports. And regardless of your opinion, and you know sometimes I oftentimes disagree with you, I don't question the integrity of any member of this panel. Your personal integrity should not be an issue. And I will stand up and speak on your behalf if it ever is an issue. Because you disagree with me if you want. But I don't want your personality or your person to be defamed because you're trying to do your work. And believe me, that's a whole other work to be done as a commissioner of this body. Overwhelming amount of work. And I know that from my friends who used to be members of this board. And what they did to enhance your reputation and to support the personal integrity of every member of the CCRB. So if I ever have a complaint with any of you, I will make it plain to you by letter, by phone, but I'm not going to question your personal integrity. We can disagree, but reasonable people do disagree. Fourth, I just want to say again that where's the police commissioner? I thought I went to a meeting, another public meeting, and I put the question to her directly. Are you ever coming to speak to the CCRB in a public session? And she assured me. She called your name, John. I know the executive director of the CCRB. I know the chair of the CCRB. So if you know all these people, has she been invited to come to a public meeting to make her position clear and to meet the public? when she disagrees with CCRB, we want to hear from her. We want to hear her explanations. You know, we're attentive. We're listening to her. You know, we're not going to keep her from coming to the meeting. She got police officers downstairs and security personnel to protect her. Everywhere she goes, she's protected. So why can't she come, as she said she would, to a CCRB meeting and speak at a public session so we can hear directly from the police commissioner, and why she so often, even this new one, so often disagrees with the decisions of the CCRB. I want to hear from her because I disagree with her. I don't particularly have personal like for her, but her family, I know, as I told you, I know her family. But, you know, her knowing her family is not her doing her job. And her job is I'm finishing up. Her job is to make sure that offensive and offending police officers are disciplined and disciplined effectively. Not sometimes, always.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Thank you. The next person.
Well, she was at church on Sunday, but I'll get back to that in a minute. I'll get to that. My name is Mari Moss. First and foremost, I am the mother of 3 Harlem-born daughters. I affectionately call them my 3 little Harlem girls, even though my eldest will be 15 next month. I am also a Native American free Black woman of the Lenape tribe, whose sovereignty, sacrifice, and survival are rooted in this very land and whose legacy continues through me. I serve as the regional director for East and Central Harlem on the Community Action Board through DYCD, Department of Youth and Community Development, where we allocate federal funding to nonprofit and grassroots organizations across New York City. I also serve on the mayor's office to end gender and domestic-based violence, where we are working to build stronger partnerships with oversight bodies like the CCRB to improve NYPD training and responses, especially in cases involving domestic violence survivors and complex custody matters. We have even explored bringing additional financial support to the CCRB to expand its capacity to deliver justice. This past Sunday, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch visited the Abyssinian Baptist Church, where we welcomed her into a house of legacy, healing, and accountability. That same spirit must guide how institutions serve our communities in real time. Before I continue in the legacy of my mentors, Congressman Charlie B. Rangel, who I wasn't here last week too. I was at City Hall honoring him, and Mayor David Dinkins of the Gang of Four, affectionately known from Harlem, where the CCRB came to fruition. I would like to also take a moment of silence to honor the officers recently slain in the line of duty, the community members who have lost their lives to the recent shootings, and the young woman who collapsed and died at the police custody, in police custody at the precinct, a tragedy that demands answers. Let's have a moment of silence, please. On May 28th, 2024, I was unlawfully arrested by NYPD officers in front of my children. One of those officers, Samantha Cortez, deployed what felt like an electrical device on my body as I was taken into the 24th precinct, where I was shackled by the ankles and chained to a bench as if I were property and not a person. I was treated like a criminal, like a slave, as though my Lenape and African ancestors had not bled for my freedom, as though the civil rights gains of the 1960s do not apply to me, a born free Native and Black woman of this nation. There were no criminal charges, no threat, yet what was followed was forced trauma and long-term medical emotional harm. The CCRB's findings that these actions were within NYPD guidelines is alarming. Guidelines should never override human rights. This is more than a procedural failure. It is a constitutional failure. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, the Commerce Clause acknowledges the federal government's obligation to Native tribes, including the protection of our sovereignty and dignity when harm against Native women is sanctioned or ignored by state actors. It becomes not only a local injustice, but a federal violation. I have attended these CCRB meetings for over a year with professionalism and respect, and yet I did not expect to be re-traumatized, ignored, or reduced to a technicality. The case is not closed. It must be a turning point. I'm leading reform efforts through change.org/letter to legislation with the support of many elected officials, including city council members and hundreds of community members. I urge the CCRB to join us in building a system that holds power accountable so that no other mother, no other survivor is ever treated this way again. Thank you.
Would you like to open the case again that you said was not satisfactory to you? Is that?
Yes, I would like to get a further investigation into this case.
So, Ms. Moss, what I'll do is either I or one of my team will reach out to you and we'll start the process for reopening the case.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? So we go to the old business. Do you have any old business to come before the board? Do we have a new business come before the board? Hearing none, I'm going to move now. We break into executive session. The agenda for the executive session is in the executive director. We'll consider one full board case. One full board case is discuss pending personal action, and the general counsel will provide update regarding pending litigation. Is there a motion to adjourn to the executive session?
So moved.
Do you have a second? Second. This meeting is adjourned now, and we'll see you next month.